G'day and welcome to the Game Day Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Dyl, that's Stu, and we are the Fantasy Bros. And just like all season, thank you very much for tuning in once again as Stu and I preview everything Aus Cricket related to the final round of the Aus Cricket season. We've only got about 45 minutes left till the Sydney Smash 3, I guess we could call it, kicks off, which is the challenger, the all-important challenger between the Thunder and the Sixers. Stu, welcome. Round 10 was short and sharp, mate. We had a couple of crazy results there and not many high scores for GDS. How'd your team benefit from those two finals games?
Yeah, g'day, Dyl. G'day, viewers. Thanks for tuning in once again. Yeah, mate, round 10 wasn't just short. I think the whole season has been short as well. It seems like it's just flown by. We're already here talking about the final round and there's two matches remaining. How good. Mate, unfortunately, the downward trend for my Game Day Squad teams continued with the best place of 12th, and that was in Challenger. That was also the competition where I probably took the most risks as well. So the safer picks didn't really pay off for me this past round. So I might need to rethink my strategy heading here into the all-important final round. I noticed you found the podium though, mate. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, just on strategy as well. Obviously, there's quite a bit of strategy talk already about this round coming up, and we would love to get to that. So don't forget to fire through those questions. Yeah, I did have a top 3 finish in Classic. I played McAndrew and Patterson there, which were a couple of pods that I didn't really play anywhere else across the squad. So they made sure that I finished in the money for the second last round, and a little bit of coin there into the GDS wallet doesn't hurt, leading into a couple of other big competitions that we've got coming up later in the season. Don't forget, you've still got one round, so you've still got a chance to challenge Stu and I on the leaderboard for the final round. There's still some prizes to be won, some packs to be won that maybe you hold on to and save till next season. It's not too late. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, you can still win some prizes. Jump over to the Game Day Squad website, sign up, use our promo code FBAC24. You'll get that 3-player rare pack. And like I said, maybe you hold on to it for next season when there's some new players in the comp, or maybe you crack it now and have a bit of a shot at Stu and I on the leaderboard. Thanks again for everyone tuning in. Please make sure you fire through those questions and we'll get to them throughout the show. Obviously, we've got a game tonight between the Sixers and the Thunder, and then the winner of that goes on and plays up against the Hurricanes. So, Stu, do you want to talk through what this show will entail today?
Yeah, will do, mate. And g'day, Fantasy Fanatics. Thanks again for tuning in, mate. Last couple of shows you've been there probably from day one as well. Good on you, mate. Great to see you again. Fire through some more questions, please. Yeah, Dyl, much like the previous shows, we'll have a quick review of the previous round games, see who top scored across the 3 big positions. We'll spend plenty of time previewing the final 2 matches of the season. We know one of them, that'll be between the 2 Sydney teams. We know one team that'll be in the second match. That's the Hobart Hurricanes. But there's a question mark around who they'll be playing, and that's obviously going to be the winner of tonight's fixture. So we'll talk about who we're going to be playing in our champion sides and talk about some of the maybe 50-50 decisions that we have. Of course, we'll finish with some our Bro Down Showdown and see who won the overall competition for the season. And we might even talk briefly about some of the exciting cricket competitions that are still ahead of us.
Definitely. So let's jump in. Let's take a look at those top performers for the round. As we do, there's obviously been the bat flip has occurred, so we'll get to that soon. As always, if you are on the chat, either YouTube or Facebook, please feel free to post those teams because they're starting to come through now so we can get into it. Alrighty, so our top performers of the round. The bat wicketkeeper position, we talked about him very briefly last week, and it was Curtis Patterson. We did say he could be a bit of a pod, and he definitely rewarded coaches with 74 points. So that was from 48 runs, 3 fours, 2 sixes, and he also got a run out in the field, which is always a benefit there where you see your player get a run out to a great number of points with that. Unfortunately, he was 2 runs off that 50-run bonus, but he did get the 30-run bonus.
I think we can call the run out of bonus, mate. That was off the last ball of the innings. Nathan Ellis was pushing for 2. He was out by about half a cricket pitch. So for everyone that played Curtis Patterson, that was bonus enough, I think, and well done. The all-rounder position, normally we see scores of about 100 plus here, and we have most rounds. They were quite down. Yeah, we only had 2 matches, but Mitch Owen actually topped the score with 57 points, and he didn't even bowl. So that just goes to show you that some of these all-rounders that don't bowl or some of the all-rounders that don't bat can still score pretty high for their positions, depending on, how a few others go. But Mitch Owen, we know what he can do off the bat. He blasted a really quick fire, 36 runs. He hit 3 4s, 3 6s. He took a catch, and of course, the 30-run bonus points is really handy as well. But maybe a down round for rounders. Hopefully, a few of them can bounce back this round.
Yeah, definitely. And then Nathan McAndrew sort of came out of nowhere. He had an unreal game. Took 5 wickets. He scored 141 points. Yeah, took 5 wickets, 17 dot balls, which is massive. And then he also contributed with the bat as well, having 9 runs that included a 4. So he got that 5-wicket bonus, which is huge. So 141 points. So as I said, I did play him in one of my squads, and I was rewarded for that. Alrighty, so as I said, the teams have started to come through. So we'll chuck the Sixers team on the screen in a moment. For anyone watching, the Thunder have won the bat flip, and the Sixers will do something they don't really like doing very often, and that is batting first. The Sixers team is up on the screen now. Let's run through it. So we've got Curtis Patterson, Jack Edwards, Josh Philippe. So there's an interesting change there at the top of the order. Enriques comes in at 4, then Silky at 5. Lachlan Shaw remains in that squad. Dwarshuis, Kerr, Menenti, Perry, and Jaffa Chauhan rounds out the team. So pretty similar to what we saw the other night when they went down against the Hurricanes. Obviously, just that really interesting change at the top between Jack Edwards and Josh Philippe. And obviously, we'll talk about some of the players that we're keen on. Before we jump into the game and get into a few stats, bit of a question left field from me, mate. Does the change at the top there with Philippe and Edwards, does that change how you might play some of your squads? Does Philippe maybe find a spot outside your squad? Does he definitely come in now? Does that change anything?
Yeah, good question, mate. And g'day, Skip. G'day, Timo. Thanks for joining us, boys. You can weigh in here as well. Mate, I don't think so, actually. I actually like this move. We've seen Philippe probably fail 4 or 5 matches in a row. Now, he went after a short ball from Riley Meredith in that recent match there against the Hurricanes, and it was good to see him being positive and aggressive, but the ball sort of crept up on him a little bit earlier, and he just skied and got caught. So another failure. Maybe that's just a way to sort of get him into the game a little bit better, and maybe give Jack Edwards an opportunity in that power play to get in and then have a few big hits as well. So I don't mind it for an attacking point of view for both Jack Edwards. I mean, that's an absolute lock already if he is opening and he didn't already have him opening, coming in with that power play when the field are up. That's just absolute money. But I like that move for Josh Philippe. Maybe he can take a bit more of a cautious and controlled approach to his innings, particularly if, one of Curtis Patterson or Jack Edwards is going really, really well at the other end. So Philippe hasn't been great in the past. I've still backed him this round, expecting, him to be positive again. And that big game has to happen at some point. I'm backing the Sixers to win here, which means he might get a second chance as well in case he does fail. But I actually see this as quite a positive, and I'm thrilled to actually see how this works. And I think that'll give Philippe some confidence as well. And I'm expecting him to bat well as again.
And it looks like a couple of the boys. In a month. Yeah. Looks like a couple of boys in the chat are pretty keen with Philippe at 3 as well. So let's jump into that preview of this upcoming game, mate. Do you want to take the Thunder Sixers game here?
Yeah, mate. We're talking about a Sydney game, and by the looks of it, we should have a full 20-over match each without any weather interruptions, which is fantastic to see for a challenger. And we don't have to worry about, who we're going to play and that sort of thing. So looks to be great weather for cricket. What isn't looking too great, though, is some of the venue stats here. We've actually got a really low average score of 28.5 points per player at this venue. Now, despite that really low score, we've still seen some pretty high scores with the bat. There's been a 170, a 190, and a 220 scored. But yeah, it seems like when the runs are being scored, not many wickets are taken. So yeah, the averages just seem quite down for some of the players at this venue. We see the averages even a little bit lower in the first inning of 27 compared to 30 in the second inning. Now, some of the key matchup stats are that Thunder allow an average of 34.7, and they score an average of 36 themselves. The Sixers only allow 33.7, and that's the lowest in the comp, so you might need to be mindful about that. They also score the most in the comp of 37.6 as well. So just looking at those stats sort of tends to suggest that I want to be filling in some more Sixers in my squad rather than some Thunder players, but there's really not too much between them. Now, these two teams played off recently, the full big match before the washout. The Thunder allowed an average of 31, and the Sixers allowed 30. So pretty similar. and pretty close in that nail-biting finish anyway. In terms of squad news, they're already coming through. I don't think Hanno Jacobs is going to get a spot for the Thunder, but he was included in their squad. He's a fast bowler, local replacement, and the Sydney Sixers have named a pretty similar squad. Now, we know that these two teams, one of them will play again on Monday night. So when we choose some of the players that we want to play in our squads, we need to determine, are we going to play them now and know that there's a strong likelihood that they might not play again, and we're going to put more of one team in, or are we going to mix and match, or are we just going to go after one team that we think is going to win? So plenty of strategy here, Dyl, and I might get you to talk some strategy before you tell me some of the players that we're going to start with in the wicketkeeper and bat position. But I'll be really interested to see what some coaches do. They might want to load up on one team. They might want to play bits and pieces. They might not want to do a lot of guessing and just play mostly Hurricanes because they're in the final and maybe playing on a better pitch. Is really interesting here, where one of these teams will play twice and will get their best score.
Yeah, and as I chat about a bit of strategy, we've got the Thunder team through as well, so we'll get that up on the screen in a moment. They do just have the one change, Jason Sanger coming in, which is an interesting talking point in of itself. Yeah, I was actually talking to a good mate of ours and a good mate of Game Day Squad, JT, earlier today about some strategy. And he raised a really good point, and we've talked about it quite a bit, sort of the back end of the season, is that a double game does not necessarily mean that player scores well in GDS. Obviously, it's an advantage to have two games, to have two bites to the cherry, particularly if you don't have a good game that first one. You can make up for it, or at least get a few points back in the second game. So I don't necessarily think loading up on one particular team is a great strategy. It's definitely a strategy as a potential point of difference, and that's one of the things I'm doing in my two main squads. I'm sort of splitting the Sydney Sixers and Sydney Thunder players across, and then locking in for Hurricanes as well. Whereas in the Classic and Challenger, I'm mixing it up a little bit. I'm just going to be a bit fancy with what I'm doing there. I'm actually loading up my Classic team with all Thunder players and a couple of and those 4 Hurricanes, and then in my Challenger I'm loading up on all the Sixers and the 4 Hurricanes. And just as a bit of a point of difference, it probably won't come off. It probably will backfire, but just something different. I'm out of the competition for both of those in terms of season long, so it just might be something different where I might be able to grab a few points here and there. Particularly, we know one team's going to play 2 games, so there's an opportunity for them to score big at least one of those 2 games. So yeah, a bit of strategy from me there, but I'm really with JT in terms of my 2 main squads, where I'm leaning towards a Sydney Sixers win. So I've got one more of a Sydney Sixer player over the Thunder. I've still got a couple of Thunder in my squad though, just in case. And I've balanced that across each of the positions as well.
And I like that strategy. I think you got a few coaches contemplating that themselves now. You sort of guarantee, 11 players in both matches, just about, for at least one of those squads, and a pretty handy way to get amongst the prize money for the round. That's of course if they go well in at least one of those fixtures. Yeah, I really like it, and it's going to be a lot of different strategy from coaches. We've only got 2 matches, but I'm sure we'll have quite a few different teams, and I reckon there might be a couple of surprises, and there might be a couple of pods that get you up the leaderboard this round. Just want to duck quickly over to the comment section. I don't think we've had this many, Dyl. It's so hard to keep up now. I love the amount of comments that are rolling in. I like this one from Chris. Thanks, mate. He's asked if it's a little bit more spin friendly or a bit more likely for quicks. Now, looking at the recent fixtures, typically Sydney is generally a little bit more favourable to the spinners. But looking at the recent fixtures, it's actually been the pace bowlers that can take a lot of pace off and bowl quick and throw the regular slower ball, and has that ball sort of sliding on a little bit that is causing the most trouble. Now, when these two teams played, when the Sixers played against the Scorchers, when all of those big runs were scored, Sixers scored 220 and the Scorchers responded with about 170 odd, but it was Sean Abbott that did all the damage with the ball. He took 4 wickets and looked really damaging with his, change of pace with his bowling, and the spinners barely contributed there whatsoever. So it's definitely not your typical sort of NG stadium, which we saw a couple of nights ago that spun for just about the first time all year. Typically, we would say it's spin friendly, but looking at some of the recent data, it's favouring, some of those quicks with some really good changes of paces. So last round, we sort of looked at playing a couple more spinners across a few squads, knowing that NG was favourable to that style of bowling. But look, I wouldn't say one is more effective than the other. If I had to lean, it would actually be looking for some quicks, and that's replicated in my squad. I've got 2 quicks from this match and one from the Hobart team as well. So hope that helps, Chris. Generally, what that means is, mate, throw a spinner or 2, and they're bound to get a few wickets this evening. But yeah, that's just what the recent stats are telling us.
And just to add to that, so there's been 33 wickets taken at the SCG this season in Aus Cricket. Of those 33, 25 have come from the quicks across the season. So yeah, I'm leaning quicks as well, with a spinner potentially in there, and maybe Chris Green as someone that could potentially take a wicket or 2 as well. The other question that I just wanted to get to as well before we jump into who we're playing is Fantasy Fanatics. So his question is this round just from the Thunder Sixers game, or is it going to count the grand final as well? According to the GDS website for fixtures, it will include both this game and the grand final. So that's why we're talking about that potential of a double game for one of these 2. At the moment on the Game Day Squad website and app, in terms of the matches that have come up for the round, at the moment, this is the only match that is available for the stats. And I'm guessing that is due to the inability of the website or the app to add the second match, because we don't have an opponent yet for the Canes. So I know that could be a little bit confusing. So for anyone that is a little bit confused, there is 2 games that contribute to this final round. Yeah,
so don't get caught out. Make sure you've got some of your Hobart Hurricanes in there. They will get at least one game. And obviously one of these 2 teams, are going to get a double. So we will preview some Hurricanes players that we do like, but obviously we're going to spend a little bit more time on these 2 teams, given they're playing in about half an hour. And one of them is obviously going to progress through to Monday, and these players are likely to play a second game as well. Dyl, we want to talk through a couple of players in the bat wicketkeeper that you like. I'll start first. The guys I like in my wicketkeeper, definitely we spoke about Josh Philippes' upside coming in at 3, and a couple of the boys in the comments agreed with me there as well. So I'm glad a couple of people are backing that decision. I know you are as well. I like that move to 3. I'm even more confident in him and Jack Edwards now. So I think Philippes just about a lock for me in that wicketkeeper spot. It's also because, Matty Wade and Sam Billings haven't been great themselves. Mm-hmm. And given I think the Sixers are going to win, there's just a double chance that Philippes could go well in one of those matches. Yeah, he could fail again and the Thunder could win convincingly. And then I look like I look silly, but I'm just backing him in at 3. He might be a little bit more patient. And we know that he gets plenty of dismissals behind the stumps because of how good those quicks are. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him go well and go all out at Ninja Stadium, particularly if the Canes bat first and put on a big total. So I'm really excited to seeing him bounce back into some form. I know you are as well, and plenty of the boys in the comments as well. Now, the other batsman I like in this match is David Warner. We saw that he does have a bit of a flaw, obviously, when he fails with the bat. He was on -2 for quite some time before taking, two catches in the field to bump that score up. Yeah. But yeah, if he fails, he's not going to score a massive score. We know that. The bat position is really volatile, but he's been good all year. One failure on a pitch that didn't really suit, the opening bats at the start of innings doesn't make me want to move off him straight away. What I do like is that some people might be a little bit scared now, saying, oh, he's out of form or he's going to fail again. So he might even have a few people move off him. Look, the rained out match against this team, the Sixers, just a couple of nights ago, not that long ago, he was actually on fire, scoring 22 from 14. He really took some of those quicks on. He was finding the gaps well. So I'm expecting him to, sort of pick up and take off from where he left off against a really similar bowling attack.
Yeah, the other thing I really like about Warner is, and we talked about it last week, he hasn't really done anything too crazy with the bat. He hasn't played a ridiculous shot at all, really. He's been really controlled. He looks to push for 2s all the time. So I really see him leading from the front again. The other thing is that he's actually the best batsman this season of anyone that's played 3+ games. So any batsman that's played 3+ games, Warner is the top GDS scorer for the regular season. He scored 50.9 or averaging 50.9 in 9 games. He scored 324 runs across the season in his 9 games. So that's up there with a number of the other batsmen and high scorers as well. The other thing I like is the Sixers allow an average of 30.5 GDS points points to opening batsmen this season, which is the highest average across those 3 remaining teams. So he's definitely got that opportunity. As you said, he's he doesn't take those crazy risks. He likes to control, but when he wants to go, he can go, and he can manipulate that ball around the field really well. So yeah, Warner for me, I think is up there. I guess it could be potentially a 50-50 is the look between Philippe and Billings. The reason why I'm going off Billings, whereas I was on him last week, is if you go back and watch that game from the other night, he never looked like, I don't think he hit the ball out of the middle once. I think he was dropped a couple of times. There was a couple of chances that they let go, and he probably had about 7 or 8 lives before he finally was done. He just didn't look comfortable. And you said that a couple of weeks ago as well, that he just hasn't looked comfortable at the crease at all. So for me, in terms of the eye test, he hasn't passed it. That doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to translate to some decent GDS scoring. But yeah, I'm all over Philippe. As we said last week, one more failure, it just means he's one step closer to that success. And I'll continue to run that theory until it doesn't work. The other thing I like about Flip, and I suppose this applies to Billings as well, but obviously Flip's got a few more catches, but wicketkeepers at SCG this season have taken 9 catches, which is the 3rd most across all venues. So both of them probably have that opportunity to increase that GDS scoring through those those extra fielding points as well. The other 50-50 that I've got is whether I go Silk or Patterson in this game. Obviously, both scored 70 plus last week or last game, and everyone else around them seemed to be getting skittled pretty quick, and those two really built a partnership in an innings quite nicely. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough. The departure of Smith meant that Paddo moved to opening with Flip last week, and then obviously opening with Edwards tonight. And then Silk sort of stuck around as 5. Silk's been at 4, 5, or 6 pretty much throughout the season, so he stuck around in that familiar sort of 5 spot that we're kind of used to with Silk. And I think if he was listed higher, I might be more interested. But the thing that I really like, although they haven't done it a lot this season, when the Sixers are batting first, which they are tonight, Silk he hasn't been required to bat at all. So that may be a concern. And look, the data does lean towards Silky, though, a little bit more. The Thunder have restricted opening batsmen to an average of 26 or 27 GDS points. So that's probably not good for some of those openers. However, at 4 or 5 against the Thunder, they are allowing an average of 60 points to batsmen. So I don't know if that leans towards Silk or that leans towards Paddo more based on a few of those different data points. So I'm at the moment, I'm still scratching my head, and it's probably going to be a last minute decision as to who I play. At the moment, I'm running Patterson, but only due to the likelihood or the unlikelihood maybe that Silk doesn't even get a bat, and then not really sure where his points are going to come from. He might take the odd catch or 2, which we've seen before from him, and he takes some unreal catches, but that doesn't necessarily equate to extra GDS points, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the hesitation around him getting a bat or not is fair enough to play Patterson over, and we know that Patterson will bat. We know that Patterson will be there against the new ball with the field up, and he's definitely capable of going big. We saw him not start the season. He didn't have a spot in the team, but his form leading into the competition was incredible playing in the Shield games. He came off a big 167. He got 90 twice, all within a month. So he's definitely hitting the ball well. And finally that translated into a pretty big score after a couple of failures during his innings in the Aus cricket season. So we saw what he's capable of. And I think, playing him over Silk, who's form doesn't look good either. I think he came at the perfect time at 3 for 5. That's set up for someone like Silk, who can just, knock the ball around and then take advantage of some lesser bowlers or the power surge when they take it a little bit earlier on. But when he's got to come in at, after when the team's rolling along and he's got to hit out, he doesn't really always have that power game. Early on in his innings, he's sort of got to hit a few balls around first and get the feel for how the pitch is going before he can sort of take off. And we even saw Dwarshuis move up to take advantage of the end of the innings ahead of who was it, Lockie Shaw as well. Yeah. So it wouldn't even surprise me if they promoted Dwarshuis even above Silk if they lost a wicket close to the end of the innings, because we know that Dwarshuis can go big with his power from ball one, whereas I think Silky might take a little bit longer. And before that 57, he didn't bat. He scored 3. He didn't bat before that. He scored 1, then 20, and didn't bat before that, before a couple of 30s. So the form doesn't look great for Silk. He obviously started okay, but for me, I'm happy playing Pato and helping he cashes in the first 4.
Yeah, awesome that you're with me. Let's have a look at the all rounders. We've got a couple that we can pick from tonight, and I guess for some coaches it might be a 50-50 between maybe that Hayden Kerr and Jack Edwards potentially. I think for me, like we spoke about at the top of the show, that Jack Edwards now opening the batting, I think is an absolute lock. We saw him in that game that was ended up rained out. He was given the ball to open. He started with a maiden and then followed up his second over with a wicket and was on 45 points in about 10 minutes. So if he can do something like that with the ball, as well as add a few runs with the bat, then I think for me, he's the lock. The issue I have with Hayden Kerr, although he's been consistent and taking wickets at key moments throughout the season, I think he just doesn't have that opportunity to bat as much as some other all-rounder options. As you said, Dwarshuis more than likely going to be pushed up the order if they need that in their innings. So Hayden Kerr might not even see the opportunity to bat. Then you're only relying on his opportunity with the ball. So Edwards for me, if you're going 50-50 between those two, Edwards for me is the lock. If you're looking at someone like Chris Green versus Kerr, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. As we spoke about, the potential pitch playing out a little bit nicer for quicks over the spin. But if you do want to have that spin option in your side, I think Chris Green potentially is the best spin option to play. Do you tend to agree there?
Yeah, mate, I like the fact that the Thunder are bowling first. It sort of means, Greeny's a lock for his 4 overs, you'd expect. And if the bowlers are going after him toward, the back end, that's only likely to result in a mishit or stumping or something, and that's where he can cash in. We saw the downside of an all-rounder who doesn't bat well or bat long enough. He got a wicket, 10 dot balls, and only 32 points in that recent outing. So we don't really like that in the all-rounder position, but he has taken 2 3-wicket hauls this season. He's also gone wicketless twice as well. So he's definitely got a ceiling, but he's also got a pretty low floor for the all-rounder position. I'm backing him in because they're bowling first. It also means if I expect the Sixers to score well, it means the Thunder will chase a big score as well, meaning, if they're struggling, he's likely to come in at 6 or 7, and he's demonstrated what he can do with the bat in the past. That hasn't come off this season. But yeah, I don't mind the Greeny shout, and yeah, a couple of runs with the bat is only going to boost that score up nicely. Edwards, lock. Greeny, pretty good for me. The one I like for a bit of a pod play is Moses Enriquez. We know that he's not going to deliver anything with the ball, although he has got a wicket this season and bowled 2 or 3 overs. I just like the bit of pod value that he offers with the bat. We know that Mitch Owen is similar, although Owen's opening the innings for the Canes and he goes from ball 1 in the power play. Moses does have a game where he can attack at any stage of the game as well, whether it's when they're in trouble early or definitely through the middle overs and then the power play as well. He hasn't really gone on. He scored a 60 this season, and the next biggest score was a 40. Yep. He's past 10 in every innings though, bar 1, which means he's obviously got off to a good start. He just hasn't been able to go on. And I won't talk any more about Moses apart from last season in the in the qualifier against the Heat. He scored a 59 from 50. So he's a big game player. He's been here a lot. He wants another title, and he's got to do well if the Sixers are going to get through tonight. So I don't mind him in the all-rounder position. Would love him as a bat. But yeah, I'm happy to play him in a squad or 2 as a bit of pod value.
Yeah, I like that, and he does obviously feature in my pretty Sixers heavy squad, obviously. But yeah, for me, I'm looking at another option in the Canes as my 4th all rounder, which I'll talk about a little bit. The thing I find interesting about Greeny is based on the regular season and looking at averages. He is ranked 10th among the all rounders for the season. with an average of 46.8 across his 8 games. That actually has him at the top of the list for the remaining all-rounders available in the from the 3 teams. So he's actually topping the list of the available all-rounders. So interesting that there's a huge difference, but particularly for the finals teams versus the teams that haven't made the final with their all-rounder options. And I guess, like you said, a lot of those come down to the limited opportunity that some of these all-rounders have in that 3-dimensional play in cricket in terms of batting, bowling and fielding, which we obviously want to boost our opportunity to score GDS points as much as possible. And Greeny hasn't offered that as much this season, but let's hope tonight that he has a pretty good game, because he's got that opportunity with the, like you said, bowling first and then potentially coming into at somewhere around 6 or 7, we probably think has that opportunity to bat. Obviously, as time ticks on, we've got about 15 minutes, so we'll talk about a couple more bowlers here, and then we'll jump down to that Hurricanes game. In terms of bowlers, I think most people are pretty locked on Dwarshuis now. He's had a couple of really good games the last few games, coming back into some form. The thing I like about this last match between the Sydney teams, that it was the Quicks that did all the damage for the Sixers. Quicks averaged 39 bowling points against the Thunder, whereas Spinners only accrued an average of 17 bowling points. So they obviously find that there's a bit of a weakness there for some of the Thunder batsmen, like most other teams. And as we've already talked about, the SCG is pretty kind to the Quicks over the season as well. So I'm pretty happy to lock Dwarshuis in. He offers that opportunity with the bat, which is just gold for any bowler. Especially last game where he came out and I think did he hit a 6 off the first or second ball that he faced? So, with that firepower there, you just have to lock him in, especially with the opportunity. If they go on and win this game tonight, he's got 2 bites, and we've seen some pretty decent scores from Quicks as well down at Ninja Stadium. So I'm pretty happy to just lock and load with Dwarshuis. And then the other option is McAndrew as well, who obviously had a massive game last game, and probably hurt quite a few coaches who faded him and maybe went the Wes Agar or the Steketee option. Are you looking at both of those guys as well?
Yeah, look, just quickly on that last match, I thought that was Mark Steketee in a Thunder jersey, in a Thunder McAndrew jersey. He was bowling that well. Yeah, look, I think the strategy for me is really simple here. I'm going to lock and load Riley Meredith on Monday night. He's just in a rich vein of form with plenty of pace, which means I got 2 vacant spots tonight. For me, the easy strategy is pick one bowler from the Sixers and one that you like from the Thunder. We know the pitch is a little bit more favourable to the Quicks. Dwarshuis been great with the ball, bats really well as well, which always comes in handy. Nathan McAndrew, rich vein of form. He's not a slouch with the bat if called upon either. So those are my 2 plays. You nailed it on the head, mate. Those are mine. I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple of people maybe roll out Tanveer Sangha as a bit of a pod. He'll definitely get the ball moving a little bit there as well. But yeah, look, lock and load, Benny Dwarshuis, Nathan McAndrew, 3 wickets each and 20 or so runs. Thanks for coming.
Yep. And then one of them bowl again and we'll be laughing. Just before we jump into the Canes, I've got a really good question here from Fantasy Fanatics. Kerr, Enriques or Chowdhury? I'll go first and I'll let you have a think about your answer, Stu. For me, I'm leaning towards Chowdhury. And the reason is that he has an opportunity to get some GDS points through both the bat. We know he can bat as high as 4. More than likely, he's probably going to be listed at 5, and there's some opportunity there to change. But he offers more with the bat, and obviously he hasn't taken many wickets this season, but he does have the opportunity to take wickets because he's getting more overs with the ball compared to someone like Moses Enriques. Obviously, Kerr, the complete opposite. He usually bowls out as 4 overs, takes a couple of wickets. He bowls in some pretty key moments as well for the Sixers, especially with no Abbott now. But Kerr just doesn't offer anything with the bat, so that limits his opportunity there. And we've already talked about Moses Enriques and that probably limited opportunity with the ball as well. So for me, I'm all over Chowdhury purely for the fact that there's 2 opportunities for him to score points rather than just the 1.
Yeah, for me, I just put it down to safety. I'm going Chowdhury because of the 2-dimensional role that he has with both bat and ball. He's got a couple of dismissals in the field as well. So that's a safe play. And the risky play with a pretty big ceiling is Enriques as a bit of a pod as well. So Chowdhury for safety, Enriques for a bit of fun and hopefully 2 matches. But I still think Enriquez will go big once with the bat. And Kerr, he's still bowling, but not delivering enough with the bat, so we can't rely on him, I wouldn't think, compared to someone like Chowdhury. So he's a little bit more of a risky upside play, like Enriquez. But yeah, Chowdhury for safety and the other two for a bit of upside.
Yeah, nice. Alrighty, let's jump into the grand final preview. So we know for sure that the Hurricanes are there. And then obviously tonight, the winner of this game, who I think we kind of expect the Sixers to go through the way we're leaning. And Chris, there, your questions come up. I think we're leaning towards the Sixers to win, but would not be surprised if the Thunder came out and had a massive game again. My concern potentially is the Sixers batting lineup, probably not as good as what we've seen in the past. And then on the flip side, I guess that the Thunder's bowlers, haven't been the best either. So it should be an interesting battle, but I think the Sixers. So so in terms of the grand final, the Hurricanes obviously playing against one of these two sides. It is down at Ninja Stadium at 6:15 on Monday night. Look, the forecast does say there's a little bit of rain around in the morning, but it should clear by the afternoon. That obviously could change at any moment. So make sure you keep your eyes on the weather. There's not a lot that we can do, but it probably just means maybe not necessarily loading up on Hurricanes players unless that is a potential strategy that you want to run with. In terms of squad news, we don't really have anything through about the Hurricanes. I probably expect them to line up as they did previously. I don't think they would need to make any changes. It didn't look like there was any injuries as a result of that game. So let's jump in and have a look at some of the players that we are looking at for our champion squads. And for me, the difficult decision comes down to whether I play McDermott or David. Last week I was all over McDermott, and I think I'm sort of leaning that way. I had the same conundrum last week. I stuck with McDermott due to him just being higher up the order. I spoke about it last week. David just not facing enough balls to score enough runs. And then I think Stu and I spoke about it off stream as well, is that if you pick David, you really want him to face 3, 4, 5, 6 balls before that power surge is taken. I think he came out the other night after a wicket had fallen in the power surge. I just don't think he has that game to just fire off that first ball. He needs a couple to get himself in. So really, we need to see that happen. Unfortunately, we don't know if that's going to happen. That's something that we can't predict, but that is probably what you want from David. The other reason I'm sort of leaning towards McDermott is this season when batting second, David averages 38.4 runs. When he's batting first, his average drops to 15. McDermott, on the other hand, he averages 36 runs when batting first this year and only 8 runs when batting second. So leaning McDermott at the moment, but it purely might come down to that 50-50 when the bat flip happens and they've decided who's batting and who's bowling first.
And we know if the Canes are batting second, there's no certainty that McDermott does bat because his hamstring has to get through 20 overs in the field first. He's already missed a whole innings because of it. Mate, for me, it just comes down to the numbers. And David's form at Ninja Stadium has been incredible, really. His last 4 starts were 25 just recently. He had a 24 not out before that, a 64 not out, and a 62 not out. It's probably because he came in at a poor time. A wicket fell in that power play, and he in the power surge, and he had to go from ball one just about. He is a bit of a power surge merchant. They want to use him for that part of the innings. McDermott was going along pretty scratchy for his first 15 or 20 runs. He picked it up a little bit, scored some good runs in the power surge. But as soon as that wicket fell and David came in, he just had to play those risky shots from the start. He still got along to 25 nicely, but his numbers at Ninja Stadium have been great, and they know that he's got the power game. He can clear the boundaries. He'll be used at that time of the game again. So I'm going to back in that upside, and hopefully they're batting first for me. I don't know how that works with your numbers. I think that means he's not going to score well, but look, batting first means they're going to get to their 20 overs, so he's far more likely to have a hit. For me, it's David. McDermott's in a squad or two because he's finally showed a bit of form with the bat, but I'm chasing that upside for a few teams. Let's go, David.
Yeah, nice. And that, I will say that I do have David in a couple of teams as well in those Sixer and Thunder heavy sides. So I have hedged my bets there as well. But I think for my champion side, I am running McDermott, down to our all-rounder spot. So we've already talked about a couple of all-rounders that we really like. Owen, again, we've spoken about Owen briefly at the top of the show. He didn't bowl against the Sixers last game, but he still did some damage with the bat. He's scored 344 runs across the season, across his 10 games that he's played. And from those 10 games, he's exceeded 30 plus runs on 5 occasions. Obviously, he had that massive 101 at this stadium as well. So that's probably important that there's another opportunity for him to go big here. His average runs scored at Ninja is 15 more than any other stadium. So he really likes playing at home a lot more. So I think he's a lock. Particularly, obviously, if you own his cards. There have been a few chasing a couple of his bronzes on the Discord page. Really keen to get a few Mitch Owen bronzes up and about. But I think you lock him in purely based on his batting ability. And then if he gets an over or two with the ball, you're laughing because we have seen him take a wicket when he does have ball in hand.
Don't overthink it, boys. See Mitch Owen. Play Mitch Owen.
Yep.
Similar with Riley Meredith, I think he's certainly overtaken Nathan Ellis as that key wicket taker there at the Hurricanes. Ellis bowls some excellent overs. He keeps the run rate down, particularly on that 20th over where he's gone for 6 and 7 on 2 occasions. But it's Meredith that's just bowling the wicket taking balls. He's bowling at about 150 clicks. He's making life really difficult for batsmen. Some of them want to hit out and they mistime a shot and sky a ball. He's also coming on late and getting some good overs at a time where the batsmen are being a bit more aggressive. And it didn't come off last match. He had 2 really early. He could have had 3, 4, or 5 really easily in that final round, and that certainly would have killed some teams that left him out. So I think this is pretty easy as well. Don't overthink things. He's in a rich vein of form. If you're locking in a Thunder bowler, he's my man.
Yeah, and just on Meredith as well, if you look at Meredith compared to Ellis at home, Meredith has taken all of his 12 wickets at Ninja Stadium, whereas Ellis hasn't been as consistent. He's only taken 1 wicket in 3 of his 5 home games that he's played. So obviously Meredith loves the deck a little bit more and is pretty keen to get a few more wickets, particularly with the final. Obviously, Ellis offers something with the bat. He's actually scored a quarter of his total GDS points with the bat. So there's probably a potential there that Ellis could give you some points through that avenue. But for me, I think your bowler, like you said, it's a no-brainer. Lock in Meredith and have that option. You've also then got that flexibility, of having McAndrew and Dwarshuis, or whatever your combination is between Sixer and Thunder, that you'll always have at least 2 bowlers come Monday.
Yep, love it, mate.
Alrighty, so let's jump in. Obviously, that is the end of our preview. We've still got one more Bro Down Showdown to get through. It was another big one. Remember, in our Bro Down Showdown, we pick a wicketkeeper, batsman, a all-rounder, and a bowler that we think are going to score the most points. With 3 points available, someone could have a clean sweep, or we could have a score of 2-1. If the 2-1's the case, which you can see on screen now, that I got up 2-1 this week, it means that we're going to open a pack. 2 cards are going to be mine, and 1 card is going to be placed on the transfer market for 51 cents. So let's have a look. Stu has opened a pack already. So let's jump in, and I'm going to say let's go straight down the middle and give the middle card to the viewers for 51 cents. We have a gold Nathan Ellis, perfect. So you might be able to chuck that up right now as I close the show, or we could do it at the innings break. It's up
we'll do
to
the innings
you,
break. Yeah, we'll go innings break.
Perfect. Innings break. So those people watching, you have the benefit of knowing. And then I've got a Tan Vissanger and an Alex Ross there to finish off my collection. Unreal. Thank you for that. We've got one more Bro Down Showdown. However, I have taken over as the leader. It is an unassailable lead. I am up 5-3. So
isn't this worth double points?
This is worth double points, sure. We did talk about potentially putting a diamond card on the line for the last one, so maybe we could do that instead. So maybe a diamond card is going to the winner from our own collection. So you can see I've gone Flip, Owen, and Dwarshuis, and then Stu has gone Warner, Edwards, and Meredith. I'm banking on the Sixers winning tonight and having an extra game, whereas you've gone a bit of a split just in case. I love it.
I'm guaranteed 2 for game 3.
Alrighty, well, that is it. That is the end of our show, and that is the end of the 24-25 Aus Cricket season. But there is one more potential show coming up, and that is the prize card draft. We're not exactly sure how that's going to work yet. We would love to do it live on stream, but it might also be through our Discord. So if you're not yet part of the Discord, make sure you jump onto the Game Day Squad Discord so that you can follow along, or you might be in contention for a top 5 spot in starter, classic, challenger, or champion. So there might be an opportunity there for you to be part of that prize card. Thank you to everyone who has joined us over the last few weeks. It's been an awesome season. Really looking forward to the next few cricket competitions coming up. So we obviously have the Global Cricket Championship that follows the Champions Trophy. There is one more team still to be announced, and then that player pool hopefully will update, and we will kick off that on the 19th of February. I think the first game there is, and I think the Kiwis are kicking off the competition, so that'll be a good start for the Kiwis. So again, thank you very much for following us all season. We hope we have helped you win some money, win some packs, and maybe even a prize card at the end of it. Please keep following us on all of our socials at Fantasy Bros AU, and we will look forward to catching up with you in the future. Thank you and good luck. Thanks, Stu.
Good luck, everyone.